Welcome to the most listened to golf in the world, the Fairways of Life show, on air, online, and around the world, with the most candid interviews, unforgettable stories, taking you beyond the ropes. Here's your host, New York Times best-selling author, Matt Adams.
What is going on, folks? Welcome into the Fairways of Life show on the Monday after the Masters, trying to sort through everything that took place and its meaning, both in retrospect and in looking forward. It was a victory by Scotty Scheffler, finishing on the mark of 11 under par, four-shot victory over Ludvig Oberg, which was a very impressive debut at the Masters for the young Swede. 4 under par, tied for third, belonged to Tommy Fleetwood, Collin Morikawa, and Max Homa. Today we're going to run through all of that with you, get your reactions to the same, to what Scotty Sheffler has accomplished. We are not on Golf Channel this morning because they are actually re-airing last night's live from, as they do the day following the conclusion of an event of this stature, a major. So I suspect that when we're on tomorrow, we're going to be rehashing some of this stuff at that time, and why not? Maybe we'll give a chance to kind of get it sorted. What he accomplished in that victory by Scotty Scheffler was most impressive indeed. Let's run through some of the points of distinction. 9th PGA Tour victory in his 120th start at the ripe old age of 27 years, 9 months, and 24 days. All 9 wins have come since the start of the 21-22 season. Let that settle just for a second. He's the first player to win 9 or more times in the PGA Tour in the span of 3 seasons since Justin Thomas won 9 titles between the 2016-2017 season and the 2018-2019 season. Remember, they were wraparound up until this year. He breaks a tie with Jon Rahm for the most wins since Scheffler joined the tour. That was at the start of the 19 and 20 season. Multiple titles at 4 different events now for Scotty Scheffler: the Masters, the Players, the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and the Phoenix Open. Second career major championship title in his 18th start in a major. Of course, he won the Masters in 22 as well. 88th player, 88th, think about this for a second, to win multiple men's majors, and the first to accomplish the feat since Jon Rahm won the 2023 Masters tournament. It's amazing to me when I saw that number last night looking through this data that only 88 players ever have won multiple majors. That's why I've always been the one that have said, look, if you win more than one major, I think you should be in the Hall of Fame. There's only 88. He became the 88th guy that have ever done it. It's a tiny sample size, ever. Second Masters tournament title and his 5th start at the Masters. Think about that for a second. 18th player to win the Masters multiple times, and the first to accomplish the feat since Bubba Watson did it in 2014. He's the 4th youngest player to win the Masters multiple times. The youngest players who win the Masters multiple times are Jack Nicklaus is the youngest when he won his second one in 1965 at 25 years, 2 months, and 21 days. Tiger Woods in 2001 at 25 years, 3 months, and 9 days. Seve Ballesteros in 1983 at 26 years, 2 days, and then Scotty Scheffler at 27 years, 9 months, and 24 days, aforementioned. I mean, it is truly incredible what he did. So let's take a look at first of all, the stats of what he accomplished. Now, bear in mind that the stats that we're going to share with you from Augusta National are not what you're probably used to seeing, say, from the PGA Tour, where you get shot link and you have all this different data coming at you. But nonetheless, I think it's interesting to take a look at what Scotty Scheffler did in the culmination of the week. There you see his 4 rounds: 66, 72, 71, 68. Now, that 66 obviously was over some period of time. I mean, I haven't heard it discussed enough. A win is a win is a win. Everybody tees it up. Everybody goes out. But how much is this Masters looked upon as different than any other because of those weather conditions over the first 2 days? Right? That's just Mother Nature. That's the way it goes. It's a sporting event. He hit 79% of his fairways, and keep that in mind given what I just said to you. Especially on Friday. Wind was coming from a different direction with gusts up to 45 miles per hour. He hit 64% of his greens, which, again, given the difficulty in hitting those greens to begin with, and then given the difficulty with those conditions, speaks to his ball strike. At 1.51 putts per green. Only 3 putts for the week, which is incredible because, the question's asked about him and his putter. Although I think we're getting to a point where, dare say we're getting past that, right? And 20 birdies for the week for Scotty Sheffler. Obviously very, very impressive indeed. It speaks to how impressive a run he's been on and where we kind of sort Scotty Sheffler currently, where we kind of place him historically. I gave you some information that showed where he sits historically, but here's his last 10 starts. The Hero World Challenge, okay, I get it, but he won it nonetheless. The Century, again, limited field, but you're talking about the players that conceivably are probably playing the best coming into the new season in January, tied for 5th. American Express tied for 17th. By Scotty Scheffler's standards, it's kind of a meh. AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, again, wasn't great weather, tied for 6th, knocking on the door. WM Phoenix Open, he loves it out there, tied for 3rd. Genesis Invitational, tied for 10th. Kind of hanging around. Good play. Obviously, a lot of top 10s. 4 out of 5. Right? Then he wins at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Signature event, big golf course, thick overseeded rough. It asks a lot of you. Then he wins the Players' Championship. That's a flagship event of the PGA Tour. Diluted field because of the flow of talent in the game of golf amongst two tours? Sure, yeah. But nonetheless, he teed up and played against the players that were there, and he wins at the Players' Championship. Difficult venue, big win, get it. Houston Open, and I've said this to you guys many times because I watched virtually every shot he hit that tournament, hosting the coverage for PGA Tour Live. I just thought he was tired. He just looked fatigued to me. Mentally, He's 27 years old. I don't think he was physically tired, but he said he was afterwards, so fairness to him. But he was 2 putts that grazed the edge of the hole away from winning at Houston. He ended up finishing tied for 2nd to Steven Yeager. And then he comes back and he wins this Masters, and he wins it, I would say, in an incredibly impressive style. Right? I didn't think that Sunday, that Scotty Sheffler started out great. Right? I don't think that's a shocking revelation. I think he finished, with a strong finish. I'm not taking that away from him, but when you look at Scotty Scheffler's start yesterday, and then how he finished up, right? Par at 1, par at the par 5 second. Makes a nice birdie at 3, follows it right up with a bogey. Pars at 5 and 6, follows those up with a bogey at 7, and he's +1 now through 7 holes, and you're like, Then he goes on a Scotty Scheffler tear, birdies at 8, 9, and 10. Gets him to 2 under for the day. Bogey's a difficult 11th. Now, his at 11 was not as consuming as it was for others, both on scorecard, but also in terms of momentum and mindset. Obviously, I'm talking about Morikawa, and yes, I'm talking about Ludvig as well. But then he birdies 13 and 14. Right? And I'll pause for a second because the shot he hit, his second shot into 9, I think will long be remembered as one of the great shots of all time at Augusta National, in fairness, right? How that didn't go in, I have no idea, but it was incredible. And in all this glory that I'm recounting for you by and large, one of the shots that impressed me the most was his tee shot at 12. You know, you've got the flag there on the right. That flag is begging you to go for it. See it on the graphic that Andrew just put up? It's down there in that neighborhood on the right. Very much the wrong side of the tracks. Don't go for it. He didn't. He did the same thing that Tiger did in 2019. I bet those two tee shots ended up just a couple paces away from each other, if that. That impressed me tremendously. That he said, nope, not buying into it. I'm just going to hit it right over here into the fillet of the green. I'm just going to hit it right into this fat spot, relatively. And he did. So he goes on to make birdies at 13 and 14. And again, 14, not that 13 was easy, nothing was easy, but 14 impressed me tremendously. Par at 15, okay, fine. Works his way through adversity. Then hits an absolute world-class tee shot at 16. Pars at 17 and 18, just to go through the card with you for Scotty Sheffler in that round. Impressive. What were you guys the most impressed with what he did? What shots? What strategy? So afterwards, Scotty Sheffler, who, to say the very least, has got a lot going on in his life with a baby on the way, I thought it was a really interesting press conference post. You know, one of the first things that he spoke about was, you know, the perspective on the victory. He said, it's hard to put into words how special this is. It's been a long week, a grind of a week. The course was so challenging, and to be sitting here wearing this jacket again and getting to take it home is extremely special. I feel like I'm playing really good golf right now. I feel like I'm in control of my emotions as I've ever been, which is a good place to be. I feel like I'm maturing as a person on the golf course, which is a good place to be. Close, open and close quotes from Scotty Sheffler there. I think Scotty Scheffler's ability to remain flatlined through the absolute fray of tournaments is right now one of the most distinctive things that separate him. Right, you can look at that and say, you know, his ball striking is so good. When you're that good a ball striker, it overcomes a lot. I get it, and I won't argue about that point. But I'm talking about what he was just referring to there, his mental and emotional control. Credit it to maturity, credit it to his faith, credit it to whatever you think it is the reason why. Experience, perhaps. I always wonder. And tomorrow we've got a pretty prominent guest coming on the show. I think if I can plant the seed in my mind, hopefully I'll remember to ask this question, because I still think there's two areas in the game that you see the following manifest. And I believe, and I'll get into what they are in a second, but I believe that your ability to handle pressure at its height is in some way how you're wired. It's a natural gift, or converse, a curse, if you don't have these skills and you're in positions where you otherwise could have excelled if you had. I just think it's a natural gift. Some people, you look at like Jack Nicklaus and his ability to keep his wits about him. You know, we like to hero worship. I get it. And when we look at, you know, a Jack Nicklaus, or we look at a Tiger Woods, for example, we hero worship them and we say, oh, they're tough. They're tough. They're just tougher than everybody else. And I look at it and go, I'm not sure that that's fair or that's accurate. Larry Nelson saw heavy action fighting in Vietnam. He comes back and he wins 3 major championships. You're going to tell me that somebody is tougher than Larry Nelson, who heard the sound of spinny bullets over his head? I don't think so. You see these great linebackers, football players, quarterbacks that come and play in a pro-am in golf and their knees are shaking. Is that because they're really not tough? And somehow golf exposes them? I don't think so. So I think that's always been used, both from a marketing standpoint, but also just from a misunderstanding of how we define what is and what is not tough in golf. I think there's a lot of people that have not closed at the moment that opportunity was put before them that really wasn't about being tough. They're plenty tough. Just the way their body works. Caused a little hype, a little yip here or whatever you want to call it. It didn't work. They chose the wrong line. Their mind was racing. So I think, and I've never heard that fully fleshed out by anybody that actually is an expert in the ways and means of the minds and the body and the emotions of whether different people react differently in pressure situations. I think the default is always the same. The default is, well, somebody handled it better than you. I don't know. Do you call it handle it when you might not have any active control over it? Right? Tom Watson was on with us a few days ago, and he talked about breath control and how he yawned on the golf course. When you'd see him yawn on the golf course, he wasn't bored. He was loading air into his lungs to try to slow his whole body down. That was interesting to me because that was talking about emotional and physical control. But when you look at these really great champions, I know it's augmented by experience. I get it. I'm not denying that. But when they have this ability to do things in a moment when those around them cannot, for whatever reason, and it's not consistent, it's not all the time, but the greats do it more so than anybody else. I just believe there's something different. I love that graphic that Andrew put up right now. All-time major championship leaders. Jack Nicklaus with 18, Tiger Woods with 15, Walter Hagen with 11. Ben Hogan with 9, Gary Player with 9, tied, obviously. Tom Watson with 8. Came so close to the 9th, didn't he? Harry Vardon, Bob Jones, Gene Sarazen, Sam Snead, Arnold Palmer, all with 7. The ones with the stars are the ones that have the career Grand Slam. We'll talk about Rory and his efforts towards the same. There's Lee Trevino, Nick Faldo, and Phil Mickelson with 6. So it was incredible. So we have more quotes here from Scotty to try to understand everything he was talking about. One of them is a couple of quotes, in fact, with the big storyline, which was becoming a dad, which I think he handled very, very well. Quote, he says, I'll go home, soaked in the victory tonight. Will definitely enjoy the birth of my first child. But with that being said, I still love competing. My priorities will change here very soon. My son or daughter will now be the main priority along with my wife, so golf will probably be fourth in line. When it comes to having a kid, every single person says that it changes your life and it's the most special thing in the world. So I cannot. Marriage has been such a tremendous aspect of my life. I cannot even imagine what being a parent is going to be like. All I can think about right now is getting home. I'm not thinking about the tournament. I'm not thinking about the green jacket. I'm trying to answer your questions, and I'm trying to get home. Close quote. Don't blame him. Don't blame him for any of those emotions. But as to Scotty Sheffler, he said some pretty interesting stuff about his competitiveness, and this shows that there isn't necessarily automatically a default disconnect with Scotty Sheffler. Quoting, I was sitting around with my buddies this morning. I was a bit overwhelmed. I told them I wish I didn't want to win as badly as I did or as badly as I do. I think it would make the mornings easier. But I love winning. I hate losing. I really do. And when you're here in the biggest moments, and when I'm sitting there with the lead on Sunday, I really, really want to win badly. And my buddies told me this morning, my victory was secure on the cross. And that's a pretty special feeling to know that I'm secure forever, and it doesn't matter if I win this tournament or lose this tournament. My identity is secure forever, close quote. And again, it gives you a sense of the depth of where Scotty Sheffler can go. Continuing, quoting again, I try to compete to the best of my abilities. Like I said, I really want to win. That's how I was designed, which stepping away from it goes back to my earlier comment, right? Stepping back into the quote. I've been that way since I was a young kid. That's always been a part of me, and I don't think that should be going away anytime soon. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either, close quote. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're talking about the world of sport, right? And I realize that golf, in particular the Masters and Augusta National, is a high church and religion for many. But we're talking about sport, and sport is measured by winning and losing. So struggling with the concept of a burning desire to win, every great champion has possessed that burning desire to win. So it causes one to wonder, where do we put Scotty Sheffler now in terms of what he just accomplished? I think everybody would agree with me that they call it a recency bias. I like to use the phrase the present day conceit, where we have this belief of what's right before us, right before our eyes, because we love being a part of history. We love witnessing it, right? It's normal. It's fun. But we tend to cast wide nets in situations like this. And where do we place Scotty Sheffler right now? Right? We now have a calendar season on the PGA Tour. We're only in April. He's already won 3 times. He's been knocking on the door in others. So the questions I have that are rolling around my head, for example, are, is Scotty Sheffler right now an unstoppable force? Is life going to intervene on Scotty Sheffler? Obviously, becoming a new dad, and he's flat out saying, hey, everybody, this is my priority. Family, my baby, my wife, it's my priority. It's my number one. Okay, well, you can hear that and go, well, does that pull someone farther away from the prospect of winning? Or in his case, does that make it even easier for him to do so? Because he has this mentality, this conviction, this faith that whatever plays out has already been pre-planned. Right? It's already sketched. His job is just to paint in the colors. And how much freedom does that give him emotionally? I loved at the beginning of the week when they asked him, we featured it here, when they asked him about, being ready, and he said, I'm confident that I can perform because I've done everything that I need to do to be ready. I've come in doing the work. Ted's out there getting the bits and pieces, but then after that, our job is to put the work in. So he's got the work ethic too. My sense is, though, having said all of what I just laid out for you, is that Players Champion, Major Champion, it's still too soon to anoint Scotty Sheffler as the new fill-in-the-blank here, Jack Nicklaus or Tiger Woods, or even Vijay Singh when he had a winning streak that amounted to incredible number of wins in one season, right? When you get players and they're starting to knock on the door of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wins in a season, is that what we're going to see from Scotty Sheffler? Will he keep his foot on the gas? Which raises another question to me about Scotty Sheffler. Does Scotty Sheffler have the it factor? I know I'm throwing a lot at you, and I'm going to check in with Dom in a second because I'm sure I want to find out the question today, and I'm sure you guys are responding to a lot of things that I'm bringing up here. Does Scotty Sheffler have the ability to take the game of golf and thrust it up upon his shoulders? Is he, in all aspects, enough? You know, when you watch the talent shows, and they talk about someone as being the full package. Oh, that person's a full package, which means they connect with you. You want to cheer for them. You want to hang out with them. All those things, right? Does he have that it factor? I mean, when I look at the leaderboard right now, if I had to say the it factor of the top finishers, I would say it was Max Homa. Is that unfair to the guy that just won and the guy that's dominating right now in this short stretch? You know, for a player to be important enough to golf that it can cause people to be interested enough to check it out, because this is all against the backdrop where at this Masters, for the first time that I can recall, maybe I'm wrong about this, Don, but for the first time, you had players and important people. Fred Ridley, the chairman, even mentioned it. They were talking about ratings being down in golf, which is blasphemy because the media companies never talk about that. The only thing they ever do is send out press releases where they find nuggets of information that show you that things are going well. Okay, well, what does that say? It says that golf fans are looking at fields of golf and going, yeah, the field is diluted. What does that mean for majors? Well, they just keep getting better, right? Because it's where we see everybody together. And the early ratings that we saw from press releases from ESPN was that they had record ratings on Thursday and Friday, as the highest that they've had since 2018. And remember, you're going to hear that and go, wait a minute, Tiger won 2019. I thought he moved the needle, quote. Yes, but his timing was off because of weather delays and so forth. So it really wasn't. It's not a fair apples to apples comparison. We don't know what the CBS ratings will be yet, but we're gonna know. And what it shows you is that where there's this heightened concern, and again, it's media related. I was on with CBS Sports Radio last night, and They were asking the question, like, is this a big problem for golf? You know, the ratings are off. And I was like, whoa, ratings weren't off this week. They weren't off this week because everybody was together. We had the best of the best competing. Now, having said that, let me ask this question in a different way. Maybe this will prompt more of your responses or discussion, right? Which is, Andrew, throw that graphic up there you have of notables and how they finished. Pick a name. If it had been one of these names, and I'm not just, it doesn't only have to be these names. It can be people that were actually in the mix too at the very end. It's okay. What I'm saying is that where does Scotty fit in the game right now? I get that the institutions of the game will want you to see Scotty Sheffler as the game's biggest star. And I'm not saying that he's not the game's biggest star. I'm telling you, they will want you to see him that way because it's in their best interest to do so. They will want you to be curious about what he's going to do the next time he tees it up. We've had this discussion on here before when I say, is golf better with a dominating player? And almost all the time you guys come back and say, yeah, any sport is better when there's a dominating team or dominating player. Whether you cast that individual as the good guy or the bad guy is up to you. But does Scotty Sheffler capture your imagination? And how important is that right now to the game at large, with where the game is at, all things considered? All right, Dom, so with all that, I am curious what your question of the day is, and I am curious what we're hearing from the people pouring in on this Monday.
Good morning on this day after the Masters. The question of the day, it is kind of a holiday. I think it's actually, is it also tax day in the United States? I think it might be tax day.
Yeah, it is tax day, yeah. That's kind of a downer.
Happy holidays.
Yeah. So we got that going for us.
The question of the day, which obviously is centered almost identically around everything you've been discussing, is quite simple. Is Scotty Scheffler unbeatable right now? And right now, 56% of the people are saying no to that. But what's shocking is 44% of the people are saying that Scotty Scheffler is unbeatable right now. Andrew, put his last 10 finishes up on the screen while I'm talking here. That's, I don't know. I feel like that's higher than I would have imagined. 44% is a pretty large number. But you look at those finishes, and he is absolutely on a roll. And to your point, where does this place him, historically or otherwise? I mean, I guess the question would be, the next question I would have, based on all of this, for you, would be at the next major championship, at the PGA Championship. Is it Scotty versus the field? Is that where we are? Are his odds going to be better than they were at the Masters?
I don't believe we're at that point. That's my whole thing. Like, Scotty has won 3 out of 4 events. One of them a major, one of them the Players, one of them a signature event, and he finished tied for second at the Houston Open. Okay, all right, he came a blade of grass away from a playoff and maybe winning that one too, in fairness to him. But I still don't see in Scotty Scheffler, and again, I don't know why I feel this way, and maybe it's unfair to feel this way, but I don't see the massive separation, and the stats speak to otherwise. I'm talking about emotions and impressions. I still don't see the massive separation that would be such that when he goes, I'm not saying he's not going to be the favorite. Of course he's going to be the favorite. I'm talking about him going in and being the predominant, like it's him against the field, as you phrase it. I just don't see that happening yet. When we went into this event and you posed the question of, well, if I threw in Rahm and Brooks, would you take those 3 against the field? And I said yes, and I think a lot of people said yes, and we were right. One of those 3 won. Happened to be Scotty Sheffler. Right? If you did something similar to that going into Valhalla, going to the PGA Championship, then I would probably agree with you. But I don't yet see the Tiger against the field yet.
Is it his putting? Is that your reason? Does it look, even now, does it look a little tentative? Did it not look right? No. Do you think he's still searching?
I don't think,
what's the divide?
Here's the problem. This is what one of the issues is with all of this, is that golf media and golf fans at large are going to try to draw all kinds of conclusions from this past Masters. And for the first 2 rounds, it's very difficult to draw definitive conclusions. For example, I can't judge Scotty Scheffler's putting adversely by this Masters. I think he putted great at this Masters, which would suggest in the finishes that he's had that he's worked through whatever that issue was with him and Kenyon have figured it out. Right? So when you say, is it his putting? No, not really.
Is it an eye test thing?
Yeah.
Is it just, it's just years of watching golf? It's like I watch so much football and basketball, NFL football, American football, that, you know, I can watch a player, an athlete, for a quarter and be like, that guy's got it.
Yeah.
That guy's got a different level of speed, a different level of something. Are you watching him? Because when he hit that shot into the 9th hole,
yeah,
I got to say, you're like, man, that guy's got it.
Right.
I think
but
this is
that
over.
was, again, that was, 8 and 9. But I don't think if and that was almost halfway through his round. So say for at least 40% of his round, 45% of his round, he didn't have his A game. I thought he was nervy early on. Right, which is understandable. I'm not saying it's not understandable. All I'm saying is I didn't see that blast out of the gates dominating performance. Early on yesterday, it looked like Collin Morikawa may grasp it by the throat himself. And then he became what he called later on, we'll talk about it in the next segment, what he called greedy, which I love the honesty of it. So all I'm saying is that it is incredibly difficult to use this Masters as a template to say we're going to use it. Here's our crystal ball. This is how we're going to, look forward to the PGA Championship. And Rahm's and Brooks or Fleetwood or Homa or Morikawa or whoever else you want to throw in the mix. Rory, maybe. They're not going to be able to deal with that. This thing's going to outrun him because that's who he is. And that's what I'm saying. I'm just not, and I'm not taking away from Scotty. What he's doing is amazing. His ball striking's amazing. His fairways hit were amazing. His greens and regulation were amazing. But it was everything is against that asterisk of given the conditions. For this tournament, for the Masters. Prior to that, his performance was impressive at the Players and AP. I'm not denying that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that it's really hard to judge and go, okay, we always look for this in golf. We always look for decades, we looked for the perfect scenario where Tiger and Phil were in the same event and they were both playing their best. For Jack Nicklaus, there was 10 or 15 people that at one time or another we felt that way. Just give us that event. In 16, we got it at the Open with Henrik Stenson and Phil Mickelson. Epic. In contrast to 77 with Watson and Nicklaus at the Open at Turnberry. Right? Every now and then we get it. And it's just an incredible battle. A heavyweight bout, back and forth. We didn't get that. Now, is that going to be cast as we didn't get it because Scotty Sheffler is that much better than the rest? He was at this Masters, but this Masters was influenced not only by performance, but by circumstance. Were there opportunities in the final round for people to catch him? We saw it. It was happening. It was exciting. And then he asserted himself as others fell by the wayside. Helped along the way, no doubt, by the 11th hole. So, I'm curious what the people are saying, Dom. What are you hearing from people coming back to all these various questions that I've posed? I'm sure you've got so many responses.
First of all, we really appreciate the constant feedback. There's an incredible amount of stuff coming in. Andrew, put the notables leaderboard back up. A lot of what is being thrown around, right? Because when you and I are talking, the people are talking to each other.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're reacting to what you're saying, and sometimes they're just talking to each other about the Masters. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And a lot of what is being come up, as far as I can see, is there's a lot of discussion about the guys that didn't get it done. Not just that list that you're looking at there, the notables, right? What happened to Tiger? What happened with Brooks and Rahm? You see Rory. There was a lot of talk about Rory coming in, and there you see a tie for 22nd. We have quotes from Rory that we're going to get to later in the program. And then you even, you talked about earlier, today, the best of the rest. Andrew, sure. You can go to that one. Yeah, you can go to that one where we're talking about these other guys who are really in the mix at the end. And there's a lot of people commenting on that. And I would like to get, because we've got quotes from all those guys too, Matt, and we can go to break and talk about it on the other side if you want. But there's been a lot of people commenting about Ludvig, Collin, and Homa. All three of them specifically. About, for lack of a better term, are they over the hump? Is Morikawa back? Has Homa jumped? Has he made that leap? Is he now one of the guys? And, with Ludvig, I don't even know what to say about him. Is he like the next absolute megastar? For him to do what he did in his first major is borderline incomprehensible. So there's a lot to unpack here. I think everyone is agreeing with you in the sense that, like, I saw one comment that summed it up very nicely. Hold on a second. See if I can find, again, there's so much to go through. I might have to paraphrase it, but someone said something along the lines of, what are we talking about here? Scotty won by a million shots and dominated the field. Which, I mean, I'm not sure that dominated the field is entirely accurate. I mean, when they were on like the 8th hole, there was like a 4 or 5-way tie for lead.
No, he won by 4.
But he absolutely
it's fair to say he dominated the
pack.
field. But it's fair to say he dominated the field. What I'm saying is that what happened at this Masters, is that enough for the plaster cast to be made and say, okay, he's now a dominating player? And then my second part to that was saying, if you say that he is the game's dominating player, which is hard to say in a fractured game at its highest level. But if you say that because you say, no, they were all together, and he did what he did, to which I say, but this wasn't a normal event. This had extraordinary circumstances that took place over the first 36 holes. But okay, but if you put all that aside, you go, no, it was a dominating performance. Then I ask you the question.
So what does he have to do? What does he have to do? What does Scotty have to do for you to change your tune? Win another major? Win 4 more times?
Oh, he's got to win more. He's got to win. I don't know how many more times he would have to win. At least 2 or 3 more times in my mind. And he has to be in the mix in the majors. Not just one more, but in the majors. It can be, if you got 3 majors left this year, to me it would be, if he doesn't win, say a second place finish, a top 5 finish, and a top 10 finish in the mix, right? For me to say he is that dominating player that every week he tees it up, you better keep an eye on him, right? And because to me, I still believe that this is what my hang up is, if you want to define it. And that is, to be a dominating player, I believe that there is an element of intimidation that's involved. The 2 most dominating players all time on the PGA Tour were Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. If you want to go outside of that and talk about the tour before it was even known as the PGA Tour, you could definitely say that about Ben Hogan. I know that Bob Jones had an intimidating factor, but his was influenced by a lot of other things, not the least of which was that he actually had a professional career, and he would come in and he would still compete and beat these professionals. It used to drive Walter Hagen crazy that this guy could come in and do that he was that talented. So I just believe when you're on that pantheon, and there were different players at different times, be it Sam Snead, be it Arnold Palmer, et cetera, the flow and ebb. You had these different players at different times that when they were at their pinnacle, when they were doing things that were of the sort of what Scotty's doing, but we always look back on those champions and go, oh, they won multiple majors during a 5-year stretch. Okay, well, he's won multiple majors, and he's done it during a pretty narrow stretch. It's impressive. But in every one of those cases that I'm referencing, when you talk to the people that were competing against them at that time, there was an element of intimidation. What did J.C. Snead say about Jack Nicklaus? You know that Jack Nicklaus is going to beat you. Jack Nicklaus knows that he's going to beat you. And Jack knows that you know that Jack is going to beat you. If that's not the exact quote, it's very close. Right? At the time. And when Tiger was on his height, when he was scratching his way up leaderboards, we hear it time and again from people who competed against him at the time when, there was intimidation there. We heard him clawing. You heard his nails clawing up the leaderboard of the Tiger. Our players right now, top players in top form. Like when I was watching, you're reading clouds, reading body language, but that's what talk shows and sports fun about. Now I'm watching Jon Rahm in the Butler Cabin ceremony, and I've heard everyone saying Butler Cabin is so awkward, and it is. It just is. But Jon Rahm I know his body language would say he looked to me like he was pretty angry. Right? Jon Rahm said after Friday's round, when they had gusts up to 45 miles per hour, again, I'm paraphrasing, but he's saying, what are we doing out here? He was respectful with the way he said it because everybody walks on eggshells. But he was asking the question. You know, the event was already trying to catch up and trying to stay on schedule. And, you know, I get it. It comes down to what we were talking about earlier and the ratings and all the rest. But there's a line there. And if it didn't cross the line, as John suggested it may have, it was really close. But what I'm getting at with Jon Rahm, again, Brooks Koepka, he said it in his post-round comments, Collin Morikawa, Rory McIlroy when he's on form, et cetera, et cetera. I could keep going. I'm just pulling names out of a hat. Max Homa talked about it. I don't get the sense that any of these guys are intimidated about the prospect of playing against Scotty Sheffler at Scotty's best and theirs. Right? Which goes back to Dom's comments. Well, what would it take to do it? It would take performances where Scotty Sheffler, through consistency, and he has that right now, but it's got to continue, does intimidating things. I think yesterday's a good step. Now, I'm not saying it isn't. The Masters is a good step, but for almost the first half of yesterday's round, he did not have his A game. He wasn't particularly playing well. He turned it on. He did what Scotty's capable of doing. He turned it on. And it was incredibly impressive. And it was fun. It just raises a lot of other questions that I'm curious what you guys think about. With all that. The Fairways of Life show is presented by the PGA Tour Superstore, the #1 golf retailer in the land, coast to coast. 68 big, beautiful stores now. You need it. You want it. You can find it at the PGA Tour Superstore. And you have the confidence of knowing that you are shopping with the pros at your happy place.
PGA Tour Superstore pros aren't born. They're made. Every January, hundreds of associates talk to the top manufacturers, learn about the latest clubs, test the newest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together, hit over 100,000 balls, all so they can get you the perfect fit.
In Ireland, golf is more than just a game. Come and experience our world-famous links courses and our world-famous Parkland courses, all set alongside world-famous scenery. And visit our world-famous historic sites. And while you're here, enjoy our world-famous hospitality. Fill your heart with Ireland at ireland.com/golf.
Ben Hogan Golf Equipment is back. Established in 1953, we serve golfers who demand excellence of their equipment. Designed by the game's best engineers, forged in the world's best foundries, and built to order in the USA. Don't settle for off-the-rack disappointment. Elevate your game with custom clubs at direct-to-consumer pricing. Exclusively at benhogangolf.com. That's benhogangolf.com.
The Gen 6 iron is a culmination of everything that we have learned as a team, the absolute best golf club I've ever hit. It's something special. Say hello to the new PXG Gen 6 iron. The longest, most accurate irons we've ever made. They go higher and farther than any iron that I have hit to date, and they're so easy to hit. Super excited for the consumer to try this. They're gonna love them.
PXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Baseball? Nah. Football? Done it. I think I'm gonna go after PGA Tour.
Playing on the PGA Tour is not easy. But you know what is easy? Getting the 524 series from Tour Edge.
Hitting linebackers and home runs used to be easy.
Out here, you're gonna need all the easy you can get. Introducing the 524 series from Tour Edge. The easiest clubs you'll ever hit. Even the best players in the world can use a little easy.
I like the sound of that. Look out, PGA Tour. Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com.
Welcome back to Fairways of Life Show this Monday after the Masters. So Don was laughing at us that first segment. He said, Maddie, when we're back on Golf Channel tomorrow, that first segment was our entire show.
Yeah, no, it's more than our entire show, Matt. Our total runtime on Golf Channel is 47 minutes. Segment 1 today was 48 minutes. But I didn't have to yell at you about going to break. Nothing. I didn't have to be like, hey, Matt, you got to go to break. It's been X minutes. You got to go.
The freedom on the digital side. The freedom on the digital side is something to consider. There's no doubt about that. Oh, by the way, we are giving away this Callaway AI Smoke Driver. And I don't know if you were watching what happened with all this, Dom, but it went insane the last few days. Like crazy insane. Because what we're saying to people is, no, you got to make sure you follow. You can see it on your TV screen. Look in the lower left-hand corner, at Matt Adams FOL. Follow us on X. Follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, which I realize most of you guys are watching us on this morning. Follow, subscribe. X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. That's what you have to do. And then our marketing people who are brilliant said, no, you got to make sure you tag 3 friends. Fine. Unbelievable what you guys are doing to get this AI Smoke Driver by Callaway. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of you are like, yeah, baby, I want it. And I don't, nor does Dom. We're not the ones that get all the messages, the DMs and all that stuff. But it is kind of funny because a lot of people like making their case. I don't even know if you're aware of this, Dom. A lot of people are making their case for it. They're like, oh, I really need that because of this reason and that reason, compelling reasons. But the giveaway is not going to be based. It's going to be random. It's not really going to be based upon if your need exceeds someone else's. But it is funny what's happening. So we're excited that you guys are excited about it. And as I've mentioned to you before, I'm not going to stop. I think behind this, I haven't even opened the box yet, but I got a brand new set of 2024 irons. All the bells and whistles and technology and all the rest. That'll be the giveaway we do next. So we'll let this one continue to run for the next week or so. Because I want to make sure everyone gets their chance. Because everyone's really excited about this Callaway AI Smoke Driver. But then I think the next thing I'll do, Dom, is I'll do the irons giveaway because, a little bit of balance in there. I don't know what we'll do next, but I want to just keep it rolling. It's really fun for us to see the excitement that you guys have about what's going on, and it continues to build the base, and so it's really awesome. All right, so first of all, let's get to this prospect of the best of the rest. And you can see that obviously the ones that we picked, Ludvig, who finishes alone at 7 under, first major start, finishes second. No 3-putts all week, steely nerves of youth. And he's got himself obviously in the top 10 in the world. Afterwards, Ludvig Oberg had this to say when he addressed the media, quoting, this is just part of it. Playing here at Augusta National is a dream come true. Just to be in this situation, feel the nerves and feel the pressure walking down the last couple of holes is what you dream of. This is what I've always been wanting to do for such a long time. And it's quite surreal to actually have the opportunity to experience it. But I'm so proud of me, myself, and all the people on my team and my family and everyone involved. This being my first major championship, you never really know what it's going to be like until you're there and you experience it. I think this week has given me a lot of experiences and a lot of lessons learned in terms of those things. It makes me really hungry, and it makes me want to do it again and again, I think. Close quote. So he went on to say in his post-round press conference with the media that the ball that he hit into the pond at 11, which I love the way he reacted to that because he kind of smiled. He kind of let it roll off his shoulder. No, it didn't change the perspective that I had that was the end of his Masters, because at that point, Scotty Sheffler, had jumped into a phone booth and came out as Super Scotty. And the sense was you can't, in that instant, you can't really mess up because it didn't look like Scotty Sheffler was going to, even though we know that around every corner, Augusta National can consume your hopes. And there was that possibility of Scotty Sheffler, definitely. But he didn't. And so reasons for concern about Ludvig hitting it into the pond at 11 turned out to be spot on. But he said afterwards, and this is what I was getting to, he had been aiming at the right side, just outside the right side of the green on 11. And when he hit it, he said that one started left, but by his initial line. But it was hit by wind as well, and it just pulled it left, and that's what happened. I thought it was just an interesting. I love when players recount for us, what they were thinking, what took place, etc. And then the way that he hung in there and the way that Ludvig did the things that he did down the stretch. Ludvig has that double bogey at 11, right? This was after he had birdies at 7 and 9, which were impressive. He also had a birdie at 2. He pars 10, has a double bogey at 11. You can kind of feel the air coming out of the balloon. Maybe from a fan's perspective more than his because the way he reacted. He pars 12, and it was a good, solid, rock-solid par at 12. I was wondering because what happens at Augusta, I find, is that bogeys and double bogeys tend to come in bunches. Rock-solid par at 12, then he birdies 13, and he birdies 14. So that was pretty impressive with what he did there. Okay, back to our list of the best of the rest so we continue this conversation. Where do you want to start? Let's go Max Homa. First of all, Max Homa has his best major finish in a tie for third. Last week when we were leading into the competition, we had a discussion on this show, which I wholeheartedly believe to be the case, that the most important stat at the Masters is greens and regulation. Max Homa tied for first in the field in greens and regulation, all things considered. The wins, everything else. Max Homa is now, if he wasn't already, recognized statistically, even though the world rankings, I think it's generally agreed by all, are currently flawed. He'll move into the top 10. Max Homa had this to say about his play following, quoting, "I thought I handled myself great. I didn't make any putts. I really didn't feel like I blinked. I would have loved the ball on 12 to not go in the foot of the ivy, but I hit a good shot, and I think I did that all weekend. Scotty is an amazing golfer. It's really impressive. Obviously, I was going to need to play some spectacular golf today, but I did not. But I thought I played some really good golf, so I'm proud of that, and it was a really fun weekend. Obviously, I need to prove that I can win one, but winning is fickle. I know the way I played today is good enough to win. If the putts don't go in, the putts don't go. I actually think it'll put me at ease a little bit for the majors to come." Andrew grabbing that quote was so good and so central to who Max Homa is. And it goes back to the conversation that we were having before the break about the it factor, the full package, as they would say with the, the singing competitions and things of that nature. I think Max Homa is the type player that people are actually really interested in. I think he's a type player that people really like. I think he's the type player that people really want to cheer for. He has that it factor. When he was in Butler Cabin speaking with Scott Van Pelt, he was talking about playing with Tiger Woods. He was talking about that he himself at times was swept up as a fan, just looking over there, kind of like this, pinch me, can you believe what I'm doing? And there was a connection. It was so cool. Whereas you'll have other top players, and Scotty Sheffler at times is like this. Jon Rahm is like this. Brooks Koepka is like this. Where when they're in front of the media, the sense is that they're uncomfortable. Tiger spent his whole career that way. Until now, actually, honestly, he's far more forthcoming and friendly. But there's this sense of platitudes and armor that they surround themselves with. It's hard to get a sense of, man, I'd really like to hang out with that guy. You see it in other ways, whether it's a Netflix show or what have you. You start to feel like you get to know the people better as humans, which honestly is what we've always aspired to here. We're trying to show you players or prominent people outside the persona that you think you know. We talk about it all the time with Gary Woodland. It was great to see Woodland playing at the Masters, where on the course, I've always said this about Gary. Gary looks like he's a gladiator. It's like, but off the course, outside the ropes, he's the nicest guy in the world. And Jon Rahm was talking about that, where he was like, yeah, I'm a different person inside the ropes than I am outside the ropes. And we get the same impression when you see the videos, whatever it is, maybe it's a sponsorship thing or what have you, but you get these glimpses of, again, Brooks Koepka, and, he's running around, sliding on the grass and playing with his dog and all this stuff, and you're like, wow. And then Brooks is even a little bit more forthcoming with that side of who he actually is in his life. If you follow his social media, and they're showing him, and they're out dancing someplace or, living it up and DJ, you see him on a boat fishing and all that. So all I'm saying is that Max Homa is one of those that in that competitive arena, and I'm not judging that it should be one way or the other, I'm just saying what it is. In that competitive arena, you see him. It's not the competitive him and the other him, it's him. And he was telling that story to SVP about what it was like to be playing alongside of Tiger Woods, and I think everybody watching could feel it and understand. That was a human moment. It was a connection. So I love the way that Max is reacting to all of this. He didn't measure it by what he didn't do. He's measuring it by what he's done. He's measuring it by this ascent, this step by step. That's okay. And it was really cool. And he's a really easy guy to cheer for, right? Back to our best of the rest again as we keep marching down this path. 2 to go. Collin Morikawa. 8th time he's finished in the top 10 in a major championship. We heard it all week. You heard it every time they showed him. He's a great ball striker. Right? He was 3rd in greens and regulation. Pretty darn good. Tied for 3rd in driving accuracy at 82%, although he did say his lack of distance as comparison to Scotty Sheffler cost him. He was talking about, I forget what hole he was talking about, but he said, yeah, I was coming in with a 5-iron, and Scotty was probably a 7 or an 8-iron. That angle matters at greens that are like hitting onto a kitchen table. Collin Morikawa spoke, though, about his play and what cost him. Remember, Collin Morikawa, he went all pars until the 8th hole. He had a birdie. And then he doubles 9. Pars 10, he doubles 11, hitting it in the water. You could hear him just scream when he did it. To his credit, birdies at 13 and 15, but the die was cast. He said, I got greedy. when you're playing really good, you don't get greedy. And I got greedy on 9. I got greedy on 11. I wasn't pressing. I just was trying to hit it a little bit too close, and greed can get the best of us. I'm not going to take a lot from this week. It's been a rough season so far, but hopefully this is kind of the turning point. Oh, you said I'm going to take a lot from this week. Sorry. Hopefully this can be kind of a turning point. I've seen a lot of good, and watching Scotty today, I know it's doable for me. I've just got to put the pieces together, close quote. It goes back to the conversation we were just having. Not to divert it all back to Scotty Sheffler, but I'm giving you the sense of what another competitor is doing. Instead of watching Scotty and saying, I can't do what he's doing, he watched Scotty and had the complete opposite reaction and said, oh, I know I can do it. He's already a multiple-time major champion himself. He's got as many major wins as Scotty Sheffler. I do think, though, that given the way that Collin Morikawa plays, that he's going to have to pick his chances. For example, I think Scotty Sheffler should develop into a pretty good U.S. Open player for obvious reasons. May not be long, but accurate. You got to hit the fairways. Got to hit the greens. Right? He's already won an Open. But I think he's going to be really good at Opens. If it's dry and hard and fast, watch out for Collin Morikawa. But I loved his honesty. I said this to you earlier in the show. I love the fact that he said to us, no, I got greedy. Flat out said it. And again, to me, that's that human connection. I happen to think that Collin Morikawa has the it factor too. I've told you you guys this story before. When he was introduced at the Travelers Championship, they had the press conference. He was up there with other guys, but he was up there. And we asked different questions. And I asked the assembled, I said, you know, when you become a tour player, you become in his case, the Collin Morikawa Corporation. You're your own brand. What do you want your brand to represent? And I'll never forget how he answered me. He said, my smile. Think about that for a second. Think about your grandmother's advice that said, smile to the world. Don't greet it so hard. Greet it with a little bit of grace to you and to everybody else. And here's a kid at that age, at that time, hadn't accomplished anything professionally yet. It was brand new. And he had the presence of mind to say that his smile is the thing that will distinguish him, that will set him apart. Didn't talk to me about prospects of winning events or contending and winning major championships. It was his smile. And I thought that was a really cool sense of understanding oneself. And he continues to educate us from that standpoint and what it could mean moving forward. All right, and then the last of our best of the rest that we were featuring just because of where they all finished, of course, was Tommy Fleetwood. And I loved how Tommy was doing what he was doing, and I won't deny that this is probably influenced by the way that we were consuming the coverage of the Masters at this point, right? The TV side. Tommy Fleetwood seemed to be quietly going about his business. Tommy Fleetwood, who used the local caddy, which was a great story in and of itself, finishes tied for third with his 7th top 3 in a major. 7th top 3. Second in driving accuracy. No bogeys, no drop shots on his card yesterday. That's what I mean about it being just quietly going about his business. Did Tommy Fleetwood. Here's what Tommy had to say afterwards. Again, we're just grabbing bits and pieces. Quoting, 8th time at the Masters, and this is my first top 10. Hopefully, it'll be a top 5, and that'll be a fantastic week. You just keep playing. You never know what's around the corner. But yeah, I love this week. It was great being out late on Sunday and playing a good round of golf and just another major championship where you're at the right end of the leaderboard at the right at the end of the week, right? Who knows if my time will ever come? But all I can do is keep trying and put myself there and keep having performances like this, and then we'll see. Close quote from Tommy Fleetwood. I was very impressed with Tommy. I am very impressed with Tommy. I know the people that they're hearing that are going to look at that and go, you know what? He's got to win. He's won multiple times on what's now called the DP World Tour, formerly the European Tour. He hasn't won yet on the PGA Tour, and they look at Tommy and say, he's got to win. He's a great ball striker and all the rest, the flowing locks. But Tommy is another player that's pretty easy to like. He's a good guy, comes from humble roots. He's honest. So all of this, it's just in the swirl of the nature of the moment following, right? That we have the conversation of what is it going to mean for the majors going forward, right? It's natural because we're in the thick of it now. I think, again, I just was talking about Collin Morikawa at the Open. I wouldn't be surprised if I had to pick two early favorites for Royal Troon. I would pick Morikawa, and I would pick Tommy Fleetwood. Influenced by the immediacy of what took place, of course. No denying that. But those would be two right off the top. You know, the story, at least early in the week, if not throughout, very much was still Tiger Woods. Very much early in the week was about Rory trying to pursue the career Grand Slam. I'm not sure how many of you came into the week and felt like, yeah, Rory's our guy and he's going to get it done. I didn't have that feeling for Rory this week. He just didn't have a lot of form. The whole story, I heard it rear up again early in the week. I was amazed by this, but the whole discussion about live guys and how they're not going to be able to compete because of the nature of the competition that they're in. And it just didn't make sense to me then. They've already proven that wrong. So when we come back here in the Fairways of Life show, I want to get into Rory. I want to get into Tiger. We'll take a look at Live with a little more detail in terms of how the guys actually did perform, whether you saw it or not. And get your reaction, continue to get your reaction to everything that took place in this week that was to pass, the first men's major of 2024, because it did deliver in so many different ways. I wish that I feel bad for them in a certain extent that the weather was so extreme, and I get that, as golf fans, many times you like to see it that extreme because people like to see kind of the car wreck. But I thought that was too extreme because I thought it took out, it cost us on Saturday and Sunday in terms of just how incredibly exciting that finish could be. For a while there, I thought, man, we're heading towards a playoff. Come on. More golf, not less. More. We'll have more right after this.
I got ball fit in 2000, went on a little run. Then Bridgestone fit me again, and I went on another run. I just got fit again for the new Tour BX. The ball fitting's been helping me. Will it help you?
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com.
I think when you're training for other sports, or why most people go to the gym is so that they can have muscles and be strong and be healthy. And a lot of the reason why they struggle to play golf is their body doesn't move properly for them to be able to hit a golf ball. And when you're training for golf, it's a little bit different because you're focused more on flexibility and mobility and being strong in motion. When you're able to kind of have a warm-up and have a workout routine and kind of gradually build up to where you're training your body to move properly, yeah, you're going to get a lot of big dividends on the golf course.
PGA Tour Superstore pros aren't born. They're made. Every January, hundreds of associates talk to the top manufacturers, learn about the latest clubs, test the newest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together, hit over 100,000 balls, all so they can get you the perfect fit.
What if we started a company and the company was under no time constraints, no financial constraints? The one constraint is their clubs had to be exceptional performers and much better than any other alternative. I was told time and again it'll never work. It worked like a house of fire. And I'll tell you what, I think our customers love it. BXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Pick up your Stride today at a local PGA Tour Superstore near you or at zerofriction.com/Stride. Stride, your personal caddy.
The Callaway AI Smoke Driver we're giving away. You have to make sure that you follow us on X and Instagram. You can see my logo or whatever is right there at Matt Adams FOL. Just follow that, and then make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you're already on. Hit the like, and you're in the running. And we're gonna. They've got this random number generator. So that's how they do it. So we're going to probably, what's today? Monday. So probably a week from now. And we'll figure out who wins that. Now, as to what we were talking about before the break, I'm not sure. I wasn't looking at the monitors, Andrew, if you threw the list up there of how the guys from Live performed at the Masters. But let's take a look at that graphic. There you can see it. Cam Smith finished sixth. I thought, again, I love the way that he quietly went about his business. Bryson DeChambeau had some good quotes afterwards about where he is and what he learned. Terrell Hatton finished a tie for ninth. Patrick Reed, 12th. They're all tee of. Joaquin, Phil, 43rd +9. Brooks +9. Jon Rahm, also +9. So Phil will be 45th as well. So, again, I don't have anything more to add there than what I was just saying to you. I think it's tiring to me, I think, stating a thesis and hoping that somehow fate will mold to your desire, this idea that live players can't compete, at the grandest of stages. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you look at that board and you see plenty of players that competed and played very, very well. And it's hard. I get it, because we're all in the business of generating content and generating interest. And the high holidays of the world of golf on the men's side of the game are these major championships, right? And so everybody's trying to do whatever they can do at its highest pinnacle to get a reaction. But having said all that, it's to me, you get to a point of where it becomes a pleasure, where the talking is done by clubs and not pundits. Particularly when I feel like we're at a point in the game right now where opinions aren't always being expressed because they come from just from the heart. Ask me a question, here's my response. Instead, they're trying to promote an agenda. And it's always head shaking to me to go, when you grasp, and this is particularly apropos in the political season. I still kind of shake my head there too, where you put out whichever side you're on of any issue. You put out this hard and unyielding position and opinion, and I'm thinking to myself, who's that message for? Your so-called side of an issue are already entrenched. So when you come out with this really strong position or criticism or philosophy or whatever it is, well, everybody that you're preaching to the choir, they already agree. And the other side does the same thing. I'm like, whose heart and mind are you trying to convert? Right? So I guess in the fog that is all that swirls around the majors, when you look at them in retrospect, one of the things that makes the majors is that we do get the world of golf back together again, and that we do have this ability in retrospect, without being told what to think, we're able to come to conclusions that we see based upon ratings and otherwise, which were record. It literally underscores what I'm telling you. And it's fun. Right? Dom, you haven't seen the CBS ratings yet, have you? Have they put them out this morning?
No, they haven't put them out yet, but I'm just thinking while you're talking, I'm wondering if just leaning into the majors isn't the worst thing. I mean, I wonder, I shouldn't say this just off the cuff like this, but I wonder if the sport of golf is chasing ghosts. Prior to the formation of LIV, right, when it was just the golf we remember it, from, say, 8 years ago, Tiger or no Tiger, the events that Tiger played on the PGA Tour that were quote-unquote at that time regular season events, they were still nowhere near. They were still nowhere near major championship ratings. Golf has always been defined by the four majors, and the ratings prove that.
But wait a minute, Dom, just so you know, so for clarity on this point, when Tiger would play in his events and the ratings would go up, the comparison they're making was not to those ratings that went up to the majors. The comparison they were making was those ratings that went up to the regular events that he wasn't in, because they were dramatically up. They were considerably up for a regular event.
Correct. But they were never, but a regular event with Tiger in it was never getting major championship ratings, even ones where Tiger wasn't winning. So I know this is a little left field, but I was thinking about it when we were talking, and I'm just wondering if everybody's chasing ghosts. Like, golf is the rabid fan base that golf is the four majors. That's where the ratings are. That's where they'll always be. And whether it's the LIV or the Tour, I'm wondering if they're just chasing ghosts. Like, oh, if we just have this weird setup, then we'll all get major ratings every week. Well, I don't think that that's possible. Full stop. Ever. No matter what they do. Is that crazy?
No, it's true. It's just the way it is. It's
also
golf,
not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, like, this is what it is. So it is what it is.
Well, it's funny because I do think there are elements of what's going on with golf that, as I mentioned, are a reflection of what's going on at large in society. In the case of golf, it's always been about quality over quantity, right? But the ratings are down because the average casual fan is becoming fatigued. And I think it goes back to something that I just said quickly that I think stands by it, is the fans are tired of being told what to think. The fans are tired of being told where their moral compass should lie. The fans are tired of being told who the good guys and who the bad guys are. So it's hurting everybody. They're just like, yeah, there's a percentage of them that's like, I'll watch when the majors come around. When it's pure competition again, and I don't have to get into why did you watch that or why didn't you watch this or what have you. Which I've always thought was crazy at large. I'll just tell you, I've always thought that's crazy. I've always thought, and I've told you guys this a million times, in my opinion, that golf is a buffet. And you go to a buffet with somebody and they're like, I can't stand anchovies. I'd rather eat dirt. And somebody else is like, I love the anchovies. I'm going to put them all over my salad. Part of the story that reverberated, I'm mentioning this because Don brought it up. Tiger. I asked you guys this question last week, and I wasn't trying to say it to be mean, and I'm not trying to say it to be judgmental, but when are you going to stop believing? And I'm not saying it like I don't. I'm just saying to all of us collectively because it's actually comical to me. I love it. We go into a big event. We haven't seen Tiger in months. Haven't heard from him in months. I get that he's in a leadership position in the game and for the tour and all the rest, but it's not like he gives us any regular contact. Like, hey, guys, what's up? Yeah, it's Tiger. Just wanted to give you, state of the world according to Tiger. Doesn't do that. Never has. Tiger talking about reading shadows on the wall, that's what it's always been. Tiger comes into a press conference. Tiger, how you doing? I'm doing great. Feeling great. But you said you were going to play every month. You did. No. Yeah. The game wasn't ready. At Genesis, he left because he said it was an illness, and then he does a pre-tournament press conference. Kind of sounded like he left because he didn't think the game was ready or the body wasn't ready or whatever. And we get used to that. Over the years, Tiger would tell us, no, I'm feeling great. And the following Monday, he has some surgery. Right? We get used to that. But we hope. Hope springs eternal in the game of golf, right? We hope that he shows up. And Tiger Woods wildly entertained us through the ferocity of those first two rounds. Tiger made the cut. Record cuts made. When he does it, we all kind of look at each other and go, I don't know why we ever doubted it. He's Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods did his breathless press conferences following saying, I'm only 8 shots back or whatever it was at the time. I think it was 8. I'm only 8 shots back. If I go on a run this weekend, you never know. What you want him to feel that way. Right? So I'm not really talking about where Tiger's mind is. It's brilliant that he convinces us. But even when he did what he did to make the cut, there was never a sense that Tiger was really in the mix. Come on. Right? In fairness. And then it went sideways. And as it goes sideways, whether one predicates the other, who knows? The movements get slower, the limp gets worse. There's maybe there's a little bit of theater to go along with the realities of life. But we got the chance to see Tiger. And, for years I had this conversation with you guys when Jack Nicklaus would go to what was then called the Father-Son. Now it's, the PNC Challenge, et cetera. And I remember taking my little boys saying, watch this. I doubt, I wish they would remember. I hope they would. But I remember when they were little saying to him, watch that man right there. That's Jack Nicklaus swing the club. This was probably 10 years ago. 12 years ago. Watch this. It's important for the history of this game. And we got a chance to watch Tiger Woods hit shots. We had to watch it on the featured group channels, which again, that's a whole nother conversation I'd like to have with you guys at some point in terms of the is the less is more really part of the success of the Masters, or is it an old-fashioned idea? It's different. Forcing people to watch what you allow them to watch through your portal. Are there other factors at play? I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but it'd be a fascinating conversation to have sometime, Don, with someone that does. But we got a chance to see Tiger play through those means. We got a chance to see Tiger play and hit shots. Some good, some bad, progressively worse. But we got a chance to see it. And even though Tiger seems to cringe at the suggestion that he's there as a ceremonial golfer, which, again, I respect, when he concedes to that point, do you think he would have grounded out, been able to grind away on Thursday and Friday and make that cut? I don't think so. Conditions were that bad. Right? And he's talking about getting ready for Valhalla. He's talking about getting ready for Pinehurst. He's talking about getting ready for Royal Troon. That's great for all of us as fans of the game. One of the greats of all time that we still get a chance to see him play. And then when he finished yesterday, I thought it was interesting because the golf media was destroyed through the platforms that judge and convict. And rightfully so, saying, when Tiger did his pre-tournament press conference, nobody asked about the fact that he just met with Yasser. Nobody. And I said nobody asked, but there was a lot harsher judgment in terms of how it was phrased. Because, again, I've told you, everybody walks on eggshells. Everybody falls in line. Use that as a criticism of our golf media if you want to. So be it. But he was asked following. You know, you had the meeting with Yasser. How did it turn out? Tiger said, quoting, "I don't know if we're closer, but certainly we're headed in the right direction." That was a very positive meeting, and I think both sides came away from the meeting feeling positive, close quote. I think that quote, and whoever the journalist was, because I wasn't in that room, whoever the journalist was that had the intestinal fortitude to ask the question, I think it's extremely important to where we stand. Because from what we were told, obviously Tiger was part of the meeting, but we were also told that he played golf with Yasser. We keep hearing from people on the outside looking in, although they're affiliated parties, but they're on the outside looking in saying, it's going to take a while. But then we hear from people like Tiger there on the inside going, I don't know how close we are, but we're moving in the right direction. It was positive. I think that means something. And then we have Rory McIlroy. Curious case of Rory McIlroy. One guy's opinion, I'll tell you what I think I'm seeing. For me, I'll be curious what you guys think. And you may have noticed this with Rory's swing. Rory's left wrist, come back to me, Andrew. Rory's left wrist has become more cupped. It's always had a little bit of a cup in it, but it's become more cupped recently. And he's always been at or slightly across the line at the top. It's been more pronounced. He's so talented, he's so good that as he comes down into impact, his hands, his body, his athleticism, his experience, his talents all kick in to him hitting shots on the line that he wants to hit them. Not perfect. If they were, we would see better performance. Particularly with, I think it's 50 to 75 yards, so he's a little wedge in hand, sand wedge in hand, where he's not even close to average on the PGA Tour. Last time I looked, it was in the 130-something. And I think when he met with Butch, if you noticed it this past weekend, if you study such things, if you have interest in such things, you could see that Rory's left wrist was in more of a flat position. Now, if you look at Hovland, Morikawa, DJ, Brooks, etc. They actually pronated this way. But Rory was more in a flat position. And I thought what I was seeing from that position is that when you get in that position, the club's in, of course, a better position at the top. The face is more square to closed. The club is not going to be so across the line because it's not so steep and cupped. When you're in that cupped position and you're crossing the line, there is some element of coming over the top, a little bit. When you get to that stronger position, if anything else stays the same, the players have a tendency to be left. Now, Rory's always had a right to left ball flight predominance. He can hit it whatever direction he wants, but predominantly right to left. And if you notice this past week, Rory had a lot of left, which I think was what he's doing with the swing. One guy's opinion, one guy's observation. Because of the different position that he was in, all else remaining the same, starting on the same sight lines that he had been, the ball's going to be going left. It's going to start left. Right? So Rory had, let's go to Rory's reflections to give some background to all this. He said, I don't really know what to say. I just sort of felt like my game was okay and managed it pretty well. But obviously Friday was a really tough day, and losing 5 shots sort of put me in a pretty difficult position going into the weekend. I guess it's more the same of what I've shown this year. It's not as if it was a down week in comparison to the way that I've been playing. It's just a matter of me trying to get my game in a bit better shape going towards the rest of the season. Other than the fact that he said later on in that same press conference that he loves golf. He reiterated it twice, which I think was really healthy and really good. There's nothing from that primary quote that I just read to you that suggests to me a conviction of pathway. Rory McIlroy is clearly still searching. I guess the question is of what? Is it kind of narrowing down where he is with his golf swing? Maybe. Is it trying to decide who and what and where he wants to be in the game of golf? Has the last 18 months taken more mileage off the chassis? I think it'd be safe to say from an observer's standpoint, and the fact that he stepped away from it, admitting as much. So with Rory McIlroy, I think it's easy, and a lot of players do it, that when, if not turbulent times, just simply not times of particular glory, the way he phrased it in his press conference yesterday, you know, he's in the 20s, finishes in the 20s, mid-20s. Not horrible, not standard you expect from him, and certainly not in keeping with all of the hype coming into the week, the great talk of becoming, you know, the 6th to achieve a career Grand Slam. And almost right out of the gate, he didn't seem anywhere near it. So I think the talk about Rory McIlroy working on his game and then reading to you that quote, which didn't seem as though he felt like he was on the threshold of a breakthrough or being where he wants to be, using words like somewhat and pretty much and etc. Some paraphrased. I wonder with Rory if the searching is something more than just, you know, his hands wrapped around the grip of a club. So tomorrow we're going to have a guest on the show, prominent guest on the show, and I'm looking forward to getting observations from that gentleman on everything that has taken place in the past week. I appreciate your observations throughout the course of the show. Dom's been sharing some of them with me as the show has progressed. today. We will get a chance to go through some of this tomorrow, not to the depth that we were able to today. But as always, folks, we appreciate your support. We appreciate you being here with us. We thank you for all of that and for your time in particular. And we wish you the very, very best as you move forward to this weekend on this Monday. Until we are together again, be well and goodbye for now.